never think about addressing issues in a sense of a social utility aspect or a political aspect. I just write about what interests me, and then I try to be accurate about the subject. And if you do that, it often has social and political implications. But I never start with a moral or a point that I want to impress. Something intrigues me for reasons sometimes I don't understand, for emotional, psychological reasons, sometimes intellectual reasons. And if I'm curious enough about that subject, it's likely that other people are curious about it too. As an author, I don't pay any attention to it to a certain degree. I don't think that a novel, which is a work that usually takes a number of years to develop, is the proper vehicle for political positions. If I were going to say something about politics, I would write an essay, I would write an op-ed in the newspaper. But I have had the experience of writing about something. I have a story in my new collection called Great Experiment, which was about living in Chicago in 2005 before the crisis, during the economic boom, and someone who is being left behind by all the money that other people seem to be making, and it causes him to take up a life of crime in order to join in on all the money making. It's a story also about America and the original principles upon which America was founded, and the way America has strayed from those principles. So when I read that story now, it's even more applicable. It's a lot about corruption in the government. It's a lot about money in the government. So sometimes you can write about just what's happening in your street and the people you see, and it can be very, very political, or it can even become more pointedly political as time passes. So sometimes, fiction does intertwine with politics. But in general, I never think I have to write something right now to describe the times or counteract the times. I try to stay free in my mind. I actually think you have to see Trump all the time in the United States, and I don't want him to get into my head every day when I'm writing. I didn't become a writer so that Donald Trump could be colonizing my head. So I try to stay free of that most of the time. My job as a citizen is the job of any citizen, to try to be educated about what's happening, and educated in general so you can make correct voting decisions. I mean, the Athenians came up with democracy, but of course they also thought that only 200,000 educated men should be the voters. So the ideal democracy, and I understand this, should be an electorate that is informed and educated. So in that sense, I think the most important thing we can do in a society is help education, because that leads to educated voters, which leads to better outcomes. So it's the entire health of society is quite important for what happens in terms of politics. You can't get a good result in politics with an unhealthy society.